But Mark, let's close out the podcast talking about quarterbacks. And if you listened to our first round podcast last, Friday, everything would have came out. Sean, Dave, and I, all we did was talk quarterbacks in that podcast after the first round. But Mark, you were not there to talk quarterbacks. I have not gotten your gauge on the quarterbacks. And one thing we did not look at with all these quarterbacks is which one is going to start day one. So what we're going to do to end the podcast tonight is which of the rookie quarterbacks should start day one? What are your thoughts? Who should be starting day one out of the rookies?
Well,
this is a big group because we're not talking just first round. We're talking anything, but really it's the first rounders that we would expect to start.
Essentially for this, you can put anybody who wasn't drafted in the first round out of it because none of them are starting day one. You can, or should, you can take Lamar Jackson, you can take him out of it because Joe Flacco is there.
Yeah.
Even though people are very down on Joe Flacco,
he's done at the end of the year.
I'm trusting Joe Flacco more than I'm trusting Lamar Jackson for right now.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens later. So really when it comes down to these other guys, the one who should start is funny to me because he's the one that for sure is not going to start day one. He's the only one who I can say 100% will not start day one.
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen. He's the most NFL-ready quarterback. He's the one who I feel like you might not like his character or whatever, his attitude, but he's the guy who I feel like if I put him in there week one, we got a chance to win this game.
The thing that, and I'm going to say this again, for those of you who did not hear it when we did the first round podcast, and I don't know if you listened to that segment, Mark, the night of the draft, he had every opportunity to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong when I say, yes, you should be my number one quarterback off the board, but because of your character issues, I'm going to put Allen Darnold and Mayfield all ahead of you. What did he say after getting drafted? I don't mind the 9 other mistakes thing because Draymond Green did that in the NBA. So it's kind of like hey, I want to prove you wrong.
NBA and NFL are a little different, though.
It was the second part where he said it pisses him off to where it's like, why are you worried about who didn't pick you?
Yeah.
Be happy for who did pick you because you're in the NFL and you're still a top 10 pick.
You're also in the better spot out of any of those guys. Yeah. I'd rather play for the Cardinals than any of those
his
other teams.
comments just screamed entitled little brat to me.
But see, I'm really not that worked up about that type of thing for me. Whatever. I kind of wish in a sense it was like, I agree with you in the sense of just who cares? Because this is your team now. Talk about your team.
Yeah. Talk about where you are, not about where you're not.
But at the same time, I'm like, if it helps you win games, cool. If you being pissed off at those 9 teams is going to help you try and be better,
and that's why I don't mind the 9 mistakes before me. It's the I'm pissed off because it's like.
But it's the same thing.
Really?
It's the same thing.
But when he kept going on about where he's not, it's like, talk about where you are. Like, if he would have just said 9 other mistakes, but I'm happy to be in Arizona, blah, 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 Arizona.
To me, I don't see the difference between those two things. If you're okay with one, you should be okay with the other.
Don't harp on it is what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
You can mention it, don't harp on it.
And I've actually been okay with everything that Josh Rosen has said, but I did tweet out that night of like, all right, now I think enough is enough. But I let him have that moment because he was in the moment.
Yeah.
Same thing with Cam Newton loses the Super Bowl and he's pouting. I'm going to let him pout because he just lost the biggest game of his life.
Yeah.
I'm going to let him be upset about that. It's really the what happens next.
I'm going to be that get off my lawn guy. Just be happy you're in the NFL. Be happy, A, you're in the NFL. B, you're a top 10 pick still.
Yeah. At least he's not Tom Brady saying that he doesn't feel appreciated.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what he said, but that's the gist of it. Do you feel appreciated? Are you happy? I have my moments.
The thing with the Cardinals, though, is here's what I think with the Cardinals. I think that Josh Rosen is going to be the Mitchell Trubisky of this year. And I say that because Sam Bradford will start about 6 games in. Either injury will happen or the Cardinals will be losing more games. And by 6 games in, from like 6 to 9 games in, the Cardinals will go, all right, we drafted the kid to be the franchise. This ain't working. we got to do something different and just throw him in.
I really don't think that Sam Bradford will lose the job because they're losing games.
The only way because of injury.
The only way Sam Bradford gets this job taken away from him is if it's injury. Because he's a good quarterback. He just can't stay healthy.
You're totally overlooking Mike Glennon, the ginger giraffe.
I am. You mentioned Trubisky. Glennon is there.
Yep.
Glennon is there for what people said was he was a good mentor for Trubisky, essentially.
So he's going to be the mentor to Josh Rosen.
He's going to be the Mark Sanchez in this situation, which is funny because Glennon and Sanchez were both there in Chicago. But, for without a doubt, I think he's the best one to start, and I think he's in a good place to do it. He's got an amazing running back there. I mean, Fitzgerald should still be there hopefully this year, right?
Yeah. They also got Christian Kirk, who will be a good slot option for them.
So you have good options here.
David Johnson, hopefully returning from injury.
Oh, he'll be back.
Returning back to form is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that defense. It's not as great as it used to be necessarily, but it's still a good defense. It's a good place to be. But yeah, I mean, it's just, even for me, wanting to see him play, but no, you just paid money for Sam Bradford. You can't let him sit.
Here's what I think will happen, and I'm making this prediction about the Cardinals now. I think October 28th, at home, it's a Sunday late afternoon game.
Which week?
Against the 49ers, week 8. That will be Josh Rosen's first start. It'll either be that game or week 10 because they got a bye week 9. So it'll either be at home against San Fran week 8, on the road at KC week 10. I'm going week 8 because I'd want to start the rookie off at home rather than in Arrowhead, which is one of the most toughest places to play in the NFL.
I still don't think that they're going to get a choice in this case.
The reason why I say that is I want to read you off the first 8 games, and you tell me I'm crazy for thinking what I'm thinking. Starting off against Washington. Yeah, it's at home. Alex Smith is better than Sam Bradford. That team is a little bit better on paper.
You're going into it in the wrong way. I don't care about wins or losses. This is what I'm looking at.
No.
Week 2, Rams. Good defense. No, I don't care about the wins and losses. Listen to what I'm saying.
Though.
Rams. Aaron Donald's going to crush him.
So you're making excuses for Sam Bradford is what you're doing.
No, I'm not making excuses for Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's a good quarterback. What I'm saying is Rams will destroy him defensively. They will sit on him.
Him meaning Sam Bradford
Sam
or Josh
Bradford.
Okay.
Chicago supposedly is going to have a better defense this year. The Seahawks are still a good defense. 49ers, The Vikings.
49ers don't lose games, though.
No, I don't care about wins and losses.
I do, though. That's
I'm
what I'm
talking
telling
about defense. Sam Bradford is not going to go out there and lose the game.
Minnesota and Denver also have great defenses.
Sam Bradford is not going to lose his job because he's not a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He's only going to lose it by injury.
This is what I am saying. I am saying he is going to lose it by non-injury. Let's be honest. He could get injured week 3. But what I'm sitting there thinking is, this is my prediction. Let me make my prediction, then you can tell me I'm wrong.
But you're just wrong.
Tell me I'm wrong after I make it. I want to make it so they can tell me I'm wrong, too. Washington, loss. At L.A., the Rams, loss. The Bears, loss. Defense is supposed to be better. Seattle,
I like hearing that.
Loss. Jimmy Garoppolo, don't lose. Loss. At Minnesota, loss. Denver at home, loss. San Francisco, I feel like it's going to be either, and that one will be a loss if Sam Bradford starts. I think what it's going to be is Arizona starts 0-7, 0-8, and then they have the kind of thought in their head of, do we let Sam Bradford play it out, or do we start Josh Rosen, who we traded up for to be our franchise? And hey, Sam, it was great, but you knew what you were getting into. Just ask Mike Glennon how it went in Chicago.
Well, technically, they didn't. Neither one of those guys knew what they were getting into.
But I mean,
when they signed
the contract thing of like, we can get rid of you after 1 year, and it doesn't really hurt us.
Here's my question for you: why do you suddenly think Sam Bradford is a bad quarterback?
Oh, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying Sam Bradford's a bad quarterback. I'm saying I think this team as a collective whole is not going to be able to beat, to me, any of the teams in their first 8 games, and then the team will basically say, well, you know what? Do we either continue losing with Sam Bradford and stick to keeping Josh Rosen on the bench, or we do have the most pro-ready quarterback of the rookies. Do we just let him loose? Do we just let him play? And at this point, we're 0-8. The best we can do is 8-8.
But here's the thing, though. If you really think they're going to go 0-8,
it's a little bit of a stretch, but that's what I'm looking at right now.
But then the rest of their schedule...
Oh, I'm not saying they're going to win every single game with Josh Rosen.
So then what's the point?
Because I think Josh Rosen... I
was just going to ask you this question.
I don't think Sam Bradford's a bad quarterback. I think that Josh Rosen... It would be more beneficial to have him play this year
Who
than
do
to
you
sit
think
behind
gives
Sam
them the better
Bradford.
chance to win the game?
Josh Rosen.
Okay. Well, then that's what the answer to the question is. You think he should be starting over Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford's not terrible, but I like Josh Rosen better.
To me, it's just I do like Josh Rosen. He's probably my favorite of these quarterbacks for, this year.
I just think it's asinine that you would trade up for the most pro-ready quarterback and then sit him an entire year.
Yeah, but you just paid a good amount of money to Sam Bradford.
Well, and I get that. You only did that because you didn't know which quarterback you were going to get. Let's be honest.
Oh, for sure. But if you got the guy for 5 years.
If you got Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield or even Lamar Jackson, this is a different story.
And you were just complaining a little bit about his character, his attitude. It would be a nice little dish of humble pie to say,
just fucking lose.
Not to lose, to say you sit and you wait.
See, I like either or. Either or to me would work because sitting him is be like, no, know your role, rookie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think going in there, hell, I would even love for him to start week 1 because I would just get his face pounded in by every one of these defenses and then be like, whoa, all right. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm just a rookie. I've got things to learn. Like you said, a big slice of humble pie
I hope that
served cold by the Los Angeles Rams.
I hope that he kind of calms it down a little bit. But we're going to see what happens with him.
Also, like I did mention when we did that draft podcast, is having Larry Fitzgerald, I think, will help.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Here's another quarterback I think will start day 1, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, I think he's starting day 1, man.
I don't disagree with you, but
should he?
I think he
will. Should he, though, is the question.
Should he? No, I don't think he should. I think he's got a really good mentor there in McCown, and they should let McCown start for a little bit so he can ease his way in.
Who's going to be the true mentor, though? Because the thing how it used to be when you and I were younger is most teams would have 3 quarterbacks. The starter would do his thing.
Yeah.
And then the veteran would be like later on his career, like a Vinny Testaverde type of character.
Yeah.
Or like a Mark Brunell later on. Or a Drew Bledsoe later on. Where it's like, I've been here a while. I'm the third stringer. I know I'm not going in. I'm here to teach you while the starter does his thing.
I'm a glorified quarterback coach.
Basically, yeah. I'm here to teach you while the quarterback goes out there and does his thing.
Yeah, I wonder about that, but if it wasn't for the fact that...
If that's the case, then Teddy's that guy, because I don't think Teddy starts over McCown.
I don't consider Teddy to be that glorified. Glorified's not a good word, but that like seasoned, that tested
But what I'm
veteran.
saying is, if McCown's out there playing, Teddy's going to be the one on the bench to kind of talk with Darnold about things.
I feel like Teddy's going to get cut.
He could.
I just don't necessarily know that he's going to be completely healthy.
He could. With
drafting Darnold, I think they're saying that, sorry, Teddy, you're number 3. Because Josh McCown is the guy who's proven to them. They've played with him. But Josh McCown also was the guy who went out immediately and said, I'm here for anything that he needs. He can call me day or night. I'm available to talk. Do you
think Sam Darnold's going to win the job in camp?
Probably. Not in camp. No, I changed. Not in camp. I think he'll probably win it in the preseason.
Okay. Well, camp preseason, I'm kind of...
Yeah, I just think of like camp is more of he won it in practice.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win it on the field.
Okay.
Which is weird because I actually think of
because he's going to probably get most of the playing time because Josh McCown will get the first team reps.
Exactly. So taking the Arizona Cardinals out of it because Sam Bradford's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at A.J. McCarron, Josh McCown, Tyrod Taylor... Josh McCown probably is the guy I trust the most to be my guy starting for now. But I really would be surprised if in New York, That's a big, loud crowd out there. They're not demanding that Darnold starts and that the team doesn't listen to that demand. I would be surprised if it doesn't happen.
Here's what I think will be interesting is if, I know this game's in Cleveland, it's not in New York, but if they go into Cleveland, let's say they go 1-1 against the Lions and the Dolphins. Because Matt Patricia, the one thing I'll say, he does know how to coach against. He's familiar with the Jets.
Yeah.
Let's say they go 1-1, pick your poison, whoever you want them to win 2, lose 2 in those first 2. If they go in 1-1 and lose in Cleveland and Baker Mayfield is starting, I think Jet fans will get upset that Sam Darnold's not starting.
I would think so.
Especially if it's something to where it's like Josh McCown played well, but Sam Darnold could have won us that game or put us into a better position to win that game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I feel like Sam Darnold's that guy who he's going to impress people
You think
in
so?
the preseason. I don't necessarily know that he's going to impress people in the actual season because things are a little different then, but when he's playing those second stringers, I think he's going to make himself look really good, and he'll get a chance to probably take that job.
Because the thing that is going to be, and let me look at Buffalo's schedule before I go ahead and say this, because I think we're both in agreement. I think you said it earlier that Joe Flacco is starting.
Yes.
I expect Joe Flacco to be starting this entire season, and then after this year, he'll get cut, and Lamar Jackson will be the guy.
It's the Alex Smith situation with the Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes.
Whereas with New York and Buffalo, well, New York then has the most interesting situation to me, because if you look at their schedule, obviously them and Buffalo play twice. They're in the same division. But they also play Cleveland. Out of all the teams with this first-round quarterback, they are the only one to play the majority of the rookie quarterbacks. Yeah, I know 2 of them are Josh Allen, but go ahead, live with it for a little bit. If they lose that Baker Mayfield game, if Baker Mayfield even starts, and it's not Tyrod Taylor at that point, and Josh McCown is in, that could be the turning point to where it's like, fuck, we got to start him. We got to start him. To where if they go further and they lose to Josh Allen, I don't know how Sam Darnold ain't starting week 10. Which is the first time they would play Buffalo.
Yeah, if he doesn't start week 1, I do not think it'll take more than 3 or 4 games for Darnold to get his chance to start. I don't think that this year is going to be what we've seen out of a year. Well, because like last year, think about it. The teams that took quarterbacks were teams that needed quarterbacks but had something they could do.
Yeah.
I mean, Watson started right off the bat, but Trubisky, they got Glennon beforehand, purposely saying that, nope, this is what's going to happen.
Deshaun Watson wasn't the starter. It was that bad game 1. It was that terrible game 1 by Tom Savage.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise anybody.
That at halftime, Deshaun Watson came in and won that job in the second half.
Yeah, and Mahomes obviously was never going to start because of Alex Smith. This is a different year. This is what we're used to. Teams being forced to play a guy because they don't have anything else.
Here's a little game I want to play with Darnold really quick. I'm going to read off their schedule. You interject when you think will be, let's say McCown starts day 1.
Okay.
Interject when you think the game.
I already know where it is.
So it'll be at Detroit.
McCown.
Home against the Dolphins.
McCown.
At Cleveland.
Darnold.
So you're thinking, so are you saying he starts that game or after that game?
Nope, that game.
Okay. So is it, does it matter if they're winning or losing those first 2?
Because I don't, here's what it comes down to. Like I said, I think he's going to be impressive, and I don't think that the New York Jets can pass up
sitting him for long.
But can pass up on the storyline of rookie-to-rookie battle. First quarterback, second quarterback. This early in their career. They're in New York. I mean, I know Rex Ryan's not there anymore, but they're still in New York. I don't think they can pass up on the storyline.
And I know we got a comment in one of our comment sections about I think it was the last Jet one when we talked about Darnold getting picked. The comment basically said something about the Jets sitting quarterbacks. Like they sat Hackenberg, they sat Petty. They are different than Sam Darnold. That's what I was going to say.
Not even on the same playing field.
Not even in the same book. Not even in the same chapter of the book, if they're in the same book.
If anything, I think that makes our point of he should start early, because they are not going to treat Darnold the way they were treating Petty or Hackenberg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those were guys who they were basically saying, yeah, we'll figure it out. This is a guy who's saying early on, we're going to let this guy play.
What about Baker Mayfield? He's the true one. Because, like, I think it was before we recorded the segment.
We're saving the best for last, I see.
No, we still haven't talked about Josh Allen.
That's what I said.
Oh,
the best for last.
I thought you were talking about Baker Mayfield.
Nope.
But the thing that you mentioned before we recorded this was Hugh Jackson, I guess today, was like, well, you know, I promised Tyrod he's our starter. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, literally, he said like that he made a promise and he's going to keep it. And I'm like, that is not reassuring to me.
Baker's starting week 1 against Pittsburgh.
If you want to reassure Tyrod Taylor that he has this job, you say, no, Tyrod is my starter because he's better.
Could you imagine if Baker Mayfield wins the job, the first game's a home game against Pittsburgh, and Baker Mayfield beats the Pittsburgh Steelers to start his NFL career?
The only thing that would be better is if it was Baltimore. Because he's the savior of Cleveland.
I think for Cleveland fans, finally beating Big Ben would be a bigger momentum.
I get you, but ask these Cleveland fans about Art Modell.
Oh, I know.
They care about beating the Baltimore Ravens.
I get that side because they took their team.
Yeah.
But the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, this is your team. Like, eventually...
If he does
it's like, get over Cleveland. But I know you never will, so I'm not saying get over it.
Does he bust out a brown flag and just plant it?
I would. It's right in the middle. It would be his home field.
It's a home field, so never mind.
He'd have to wait until week 8.
Maybe he can get... Oh, that would have been so perfect. Can we switch those two?
No.
Make it a home and away?
Week 17, he wins that game, plants the flag right in the middle of Baltimore.
That'd
the
be
Browns
perfect.
flag. This is our franchise, basically, is what he's saying. This is the one quarterback that I think, should he start day 1... Maybe not. However, I think that Baker Mayfield is there. It's kind of like the Tim Tebow aspect to it, to where there's too much hype around this kid to not start him week 1.
Well, it's a couple
I
things.
get you've got Tyrod Taylor. I get that I would be safer with Tyrod right now than I would Baker, but there's something special about this Baker kid that I like.
Yeah, I mean, when you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, you expect him to start. I don't know what's going on with Jared Goff. That's a whole other situation.
Well, that was Jeff Fisher being Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, that's some 7-9 bullshit.
And that's another thing. Like, I heard Colin Cowherd mention this. Jeff Fisher tried to fit Jared Goff square peg, square hole, whereas McVay came in and said, no, we're going to build the hole around the peg.
Yeah.
We're going to build this offense around the quarterback.
So for me, when it comes to Baker Mayfield, I like Tyrod Taylor. I've talked about him, and I like him a lot. And
He's
I
not
think
bad. I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
Yeah. He's not amazing, but he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
But here's the thing in Cleveland. You draft a quarterback number 1 overall, you expect him to start, of course. Cleveland can't really afford to mess things up. I think it's part of it, too. For Hugh Jackson, he needs to get this right. And I know it's not completely him. Obviously, he's not the GM. But he needs this to work. He is 1-31. I do not care if I am beating a dead horse. I will say it nonstop because it's awful. It is terrible. He is 1-31. You went from 1-15. It's got to get better from here. No, there's only one place you can go lower than that, and they did it.
Yep.
That's impressive. Cleveland, I like you guys. I'm not trying to harp down on you. I just think you should have fired your coach.
You do love to rag on the Wolverine, though.
Because he's a bad coach. He's a bad head coach. He's a great offensive coordinator, bad head coach. But anyways, although he's really lucked out from some great things going on for the Bengals. But anyways, that's besides the point. When you have a guy like Baker Mayfield, he's an electric player. He is, I hate saying it, but he is that it factor kind of guy. It's not even a debate for me. Tyrod, congratulations, you're quarterback number 2. This is Baker Mayfield's team. I'm not even having the debate. It's not a competition. It is Baker's job.
Well, and I'd be with Baker or Tyrod. It kind of feels weird to say this. There are some winnable games for the Browns based off of what they did. Do I expect them to beat Pittsburgh or New Orleans to start the season? No. But it's like the Jets are winnable. The Raiders are winnable. The Ravens could be winnable. Tampa week 7 could be winnable. I mean, Cincinnati week 9, maybe, or week 16, I'll give you the home game. Maybe one of those you win. Like, there could be a couple. Am I saying the Browns make the playoffs? I'm not saying that. But, like, based off of the thing with Cleveland that's interesting, though, it's not just one position. They completely turned around this team, added wide receivers, added a running back, added defensive back help, brought in Demarius Randall, drafted Denzel Ward. They basically revamped this team to where it's completely different than the one we saw last year.
I would almost be willing to buy the hype on the Cleveland Browns.
To make the playoffs?
Yeah. I actually almost would, because of the fact that I think there's a lot of things going the wrong direction. I've been saying that for a while in this division. This division's been going the wrong way.
Cincinnati, Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore couldn't even win it in your in-game last year.
Right. The Pittsburgh Steelers are still far and away.
You let Bills Mafia in the playoffs. And look at how they partied.
I think that based on this roster and based on what Cleveland did, and I do like Baker Mayfield, even though he's got some things to fix, I still do like him a lot. He's that guy who I feel like even if things get difficult, he's still going to do things to get his team back in the game. And they've got wide receivers. You might not think it because it's Cleveland, and it's been a while since they've had good wide receivers, but they have them.
They do.
They have, not only did they get Nick Chubb, but they have running backs. They have a pretty damn good defense. The problem still for me is the reason why I'm not going to buy the hype on Cleveland. I do not trust Hugh Jackson. It is plain and simple. I do not trust him. I don't think he's going to be good. I think they should have gotten rid of him. If they had gotten rid of him and they managed to, instead of New York getting Shermer, they actually were to grab him, if that is something that happened here, then I would sit there and say, Cleveland Browns, playoffs. Book it right now. I'm saying it's going to happen. But they still have this guy who I don't believe in. That's the problem. But apparently they're saying that, hey, maybe one more good draft class and we'll be there. I don't know.
But let's look at the last guy, Josh Allen. And basically the thing I want to ask you here is, this to me is the most interesting one. Because Josh Allen coming into this draft, both you and I said he probably has to sit a year or two. Then he gets drafted by the Bills, and it's like, is he going to win? Could he win the job from A.J. McCarron? Is A.J. McCarron the definite starter week one? What's going through your mind about Josh Allen, and will he start week one for the Buffalo Bills?
Well, I think he will start week one. And really, here's the thing for it. He is kind of an answer, I think, for the Buffalo Bills. They view it. Why did the Buffalo Bills hate Tyrod Taylor? That's an important question.
Because we talked about it a lot.
It is an important question. And when you think about Tyrod Taylor, what is Tyrod's biggest flaw to his game?
He's not a pocket passer?
No, he doesn't take risks.
Okay.
He is such a conservative quarterback.
Josh Allen takes risks.
Josh Allen takes risks like it's his job. And that I really think...
Some would say poor decision making.
Yes. Well, I mean, we're going to get to it. But, he takes risks no matter what. That is why they wanted this culture shift. Because honestly, part of it is, even if it doesn't work out, at least we know we tried something different. And you have Jamal Adams, safety out of the New York Jets, saying that he can't wait to catch passes from one of my favorite quarterbacks. I saw that, and I was like,
oh, man.
Is he a wide receiver now? I was really confused, and then I figured it out, and I was oh, now I remember it.
I love Adams. I love him so much.
Now, to be fair, because someone will put it in the comments, he had 0 interceptions last year, so that's a big comment.
I love it, though. Except last year, I like this line rather than the line last year where he says, I'm going to die on the field.
Right.
Like,
now, if you are not, if your team is not in the AFC East, follow
or the AFC
Jamal
Beast.
Adams. Yeah, follow Jamal Adams on Twitter because he rules on Twitter. He really does. He's one of those guys that you got to follow. But anyways, I really purely think that it is the opposite of Tyrod Taylor. That's why they targeted Josh Allen. Because to me, I look at a guy who makes bad decisions, constantly is running around and throwing to the opposite side of the field or throwing off his back foot, overthrowing wide receivers. That man can throw it 70 yards, but the receiver only went 50. I look at all these flaws, all these issues, and if he starts week one, he is going to fail. He's got, I want to say that he's got all the things that John Elway wants. I know that this is not the Broncos, but he's tall, he's got big hands, he's got a rocket arm. That's those things that those old style quarterbacks, those old style GMs want in a guy. Mm-hmm. If he has time, he can be successful. If you play him day one, he will fail. The problem is A.J. McCarron's the only other option.
If Josh Allen starts this year, I want him to start week 13. And the reason why I say that, let me read off the first 11 games for Buffalo. At Baltimore, probably not the hardest. The LA Chargers. At Minnesota. At Green Bay. Home against Tennessee. At Houston. All right, not the hardest there. At Indy. Is Andrew Luck coming back? Home against New England. Home against Chicago. At New York. Home against Jacksonville. Yeah, they're not all dominant games. But after that, it becomes Miami twice, Detroit once, the Jets. Oh, and then you get New England on the road. So if I start him after week 13, it depends. If they're in a playoff push and McCarron's your guy, go ahead. But if you have a losing record, which they could because now they have a tougher schedule because they made the playoffs last year. If they have a losing record and he starts week 13, that is a small sample size to get him regular season games, and it's not the hardest schedule. Where it's like, all right, it's Miami twice, New York once, Detroit, and then, all right, we'll give you a tough one at Foxborough. But we're out of it at that point. We're early on, I don't want him rookie year going up at Minnesota, at Green Bay, at Indianapolis, which I think they'll be better this year. And I don't want him going up against Jacksonville with that decision making. So, I mean, for me, I think McCarron's going to be the starter. Josh Allen, I would not play at all this year. But if I had to play him this year, week 13 would be the week I kind of look for.
I don't really want him to start at all because, like I said, he's got a lot of things that need to be fixed. Mm-hmm. I don't see the value for where they traded up to get him.
And this is why I know this is a little different, but with the Bills, I still think back and go, why didn't you take Josh Rosen then?
Yeah. When they traded up, I really kind of thought they would.
Unless, I mean, it could be something as simple as we didn't like the off the field stuff and we don't like his personality. Like, if that's it, fine. Like, I get it. Like, if you don't like a kid's personality, I don't want you drafting him. But part of me is like, you kind of seem like a team that needs a pro-ready quarterback more than someone else. Because, Tyrod Taylor's better than A.J. McCarron. Josh McCown's not better than A.J. McCarron.
I would say Josh McCown's probably better than A.J. McCarron.
We've got Sam Bradford that I would say is better than A.J. McCarron.
A.J. McCarron, to me, is...
I would say Josh McCown might be a push. And that's me maybe undervaluing the Jets. I tend to do that.
Yeah, I just don't really... To me, A.J. McCarron is not anything I'm that crazy about, anything I'm that excited about. Mm-hmm. I feel that A.J. McCarron...
But I'm not excited about Josh McCown either. That's why I think I'm like this.
Yeah, I just feel like A.J. McCarron's going to be that guy who just never really... not necessarily accomplishes, but never turns out into anything in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pull a little bit of a... I'm going to reach deep in the bag of the Buffalo Bills here and pull something out that I think is going to be difficult. So like I said, there's a lot of things I think that Josh Allen needs to have worked on. And I wonder about it because this is not the only guy, but this is going to be someone who is kind of responsible for it. David Culley, I think his last name. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bills fans. You probably never... If you're not a Bills fan, you probably have never heard of this guy, or maybe a Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's the quarterback's coach for the Buffalo Bills. And he's going to be the guy who's responsible for not fixing, but molding a lot of these things with Josh Allen. Now, the thing that I kind of worry about, sure, he was with Kansas City from 13 to 16, so he had some overlap with Mahomes, with the other one, Alex Smith, almost blanked on his name, and he's got the blandest name out there, and I couldn't remember it. But the problem is, he wasn't the quarterback's coach. He was the wide receivers coach. So and that's not saying that these things can't translate or anything like that. And I don't know tons and tons about his history. I mean, he could have been an amazing quarterback back in the day. I don't really know the guy very well, but and he did a good job when he was a wide receivers coach. Obviously Jeremy Maclin was there, things like that. So I just wonder, is he going to be a guy who can fix these things? Is McDermott going to be the guy who is going to really make sure this quarterback works out? Because what your dream scenario is, you'll know it very well. You love Brett Favre. Your dream scenario is, sure, he's going to throw 1 or 2 interceptions in a game, and they're going to be dumb decisions. He will run that way when things break down. He's feeling the pressure. He throws it across his body straight to Jamal Adams. That is going to happen in a game. But what's also going to hopefully happen in a game, this is your dream scenario, is that he's going to throw 1 or 2 50, 60-yard passes, and they can't do anything about it. He just took the top off of that defense. That is your dream scenario. You are never going to completely fix everything.
And the one thing I will throw out, a guy who maybe more developed in his second year, what were we saying about Zay Jones last year? He could be a receiver that could take tops off of defense.
Yeah, he didn't do as much as he should have done, or that you'd expect him to do last year. So you're kind of hoping that he fixes some of that.
Plus, it'll be interesting to see who Josh Allen kind of builds relationships with, like throwing the football. Will it be Calvin Benjamin? Will it be Zay Jones? Will it be Andre Holmes? Will it be Charles Clay, the tight end? We don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where those relationships kind of lie and who starts to become his main go-to guy when he's eventually starting, because I think that you drafted Josh Allen for one reason, for him to eventually start.
Yeah. It's just an interesting one to me. I mean, I like a lot of things that the Bills did in the draft. I mean, I love Tremaine Edmonds. I think that Tremaine Edmonds very possibly
also
could be one of the best
linebackers
in the NFL.
He was a top 10 talent for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, he is a guy who is not that way yet. He still has time he needs to develop, but he has such a high ceiling. I love that one. They addressed corner later in the draft, but they did. So they're definitely doing a lot of good things, and they're a team that's kind of one of those on the cusp teams. To me, and it might just be me being down on Josh Allen. I have never been high on Josh Allen through this whole process, and I just don't see it really panning out unless he has a lot of time to sit and work on these kind of issues. He needs the I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. He needs the Bills to be
I haven't said anything to get cut off.
I know, but I see you. He needs the Bills to be very
just
patient
looking for my spot.
For him. He cannot afford the Bills to pull like a Cleveland or something like that, like Colt McCoy, or Jimmy Clausen for the Panthers,
or Christian Ponder.
Christian Ponder started. Yeah. He can't afford for this team to say, well, or, Glennon is another example too. Well, you started a little bit, it didn't go well, but now we're really high up and we're going to take this other guy. He can't afford something like that. He needs time to develop. Otherwise, it's going to turn into Paxton Lynch.
So here's what we're going to do at the end. Really quickly, both of us said Lamar Jackson, we don't see him starting this year.
Yep.
I think Joe Flacco plays this whole year, gets cut at the end of the season. Lamar Jackson's a starter throughout.
Yep.
Just kind of clarifying, Josh Rosen, what's going to be the deal?
Josh Rosen will not start day one, even though he could. He will not start until Sam Bradford gets hurt.
I think he starts week 8, I will say. He won't start week 1. He'll start week 8. Sam Bradford will start week 1. Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield starts day 1.
I think he starts day 1 also.
Well, day 1 of the preseason. He should start.
I think he wins it in the preseason.
I think he probably will
starts
too,
day 1.
He should.
I then feel sorry for Tyrod Taylor because, Nathan Peterman wasn't going to beat you out, but Baker Mayfield was.
Yep.
Sam Darnold,
I think he probably starts week 1.
I'm going to say no, he doesn't. McCown starts week 1.
I think he probably does. I think he'll probably win it.
He's the only one I don't know when he starts. I know that it will be this season. I don't know when it will be this season. Let's see. We've got Rosen, Darnold, Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Allen. I'm going to say no, he doesn't start this year.
Oh, I'm surprised.
At all.
I honestly kind of feel like he's going to be like a week 1 starter.
You think so?
Because A.J. McCarron's not going to win the job. Here's the thing, too, actually. It's worth pointing out it might have been McDermott who said it, but they were talking about the quarterback competition, and essentially the Bills made it seem like it's an open competition.
Even Nathan Peterman can win it.
Yeah, open competition means open.
5-pick Peterman, 5 PP.
But the way they phrased it was perfect. Essentially saying that there are 52 guys in that locker room, and if they pick their leader, if they are following somebody, we're rolling with that guy.
Yeah.
To me, that says, congratulations, Josh Allen, you're the starting quarterback of the Buffalo Bills.
Well, and also it plays into what, and I can't remember the player's name, Bills fans help me out, but their team captain said, he's going to have to answer for those tweets.
Yeah.
He's going to have to answer. So if he answers for them and the team likes it, maybe then they become like, all right, you're one of us. And that kind of helps.
I'm sure he'll say the right things.
To end this, though, we're going to play a little game. I'm going to pull up another name. These are other quarterbacks drafted. Not this year.
Okay.
You tell me if at all in their career will they start for the team they were drafted by.
All right.
Mason Rudolph and the Steelers.
Yes.
How many years?
Well, I actually think he can be good. So I think there's a chance that he might have a long career.
He sits 2 years, plays the third. I think Big Ben's only around for 2 more years.
You don't think that they're going to re-sign him then?
No. I think that Mason Rudolph's the guy moving forward. You draft Mason Rudolph, you draft his main guy.
You said, okay, so you think that they will re-sign him post this contract?
Yeah, for one more year. He'll sign a 1-year contract, then be done. It'll be his so this year, farewell year next year, then Mason Rudolph.
All right.
How about Kyle Luletta, New York Giants?
Probably not.
You don't think he'll be the incumbent starter for the Giants?
No, I think that the Giants are one of those teams where Eli will last maybe 2 or 3 more years, and they'll either have to do something to trade up to get a quarterback, maybe luck out and just get a quarterback, or go free agent. I really don't think Luletta's going to
I'm going to go
guy.
yes. I'm going to say Eli plays 3 years. Luletta then takes over in that 4th year. And then the last one I want to bring up, because he's the only one that is behind a quarterback that could be on the way out, Danny Etling, New England Patriots. I'm going to say hard no.
Yeah, I would say no as well.
I didn't like Danny Etling at LSU or at Purdue. I don't know why the Patriots drafted him. I don't know why.
For funsies.
Last 2 things I want to ask you personally to get your little take on these.
All right.
First, I know the Outcast talked about it, but you're also a Bears fan.
Yep, sure am.
Roquan Smith pick. What do you think?
Yeah,
for your Chicago
I like
Bears?
It. Now, when I sat there, I was like, Minka Fitzpatrick's on the board, and people know I love Fitzpatrick on the show. It was not the thing that the Bears probably should have done. I just really like Fitzpatrick. And part of that might also be I really wanted Jamal Adams as well last year. I'm thrilled about Trubisky. I got his jersey and all that. To me, Roquan Smith was the absolute right pick, even if I would have loved to have Tremaine Edmonds or something like that. He was the absolute right pick because of him and Trevathan. Like, that is a monster inside.
Are you putting Roquan inside, outside? Because
inside.
I know with the Outcast, one thing in their comment section is Brad said outside, and people started bashing him.
No, I don't want him on the outside. To me, Roquan Smith, even though Trevathan's our leader right now, Roquan Smith is going to be the leader of this football team for like a decade on the defensive side of the ball. He is Brian Urlacher. Yeah. He is not Lance Briggs. He is Brian Urlacher.
To be honest, did you hear the one player people are comparing to Brian Urlacher in a way?
No.
Leighton Vander Esch. Kind of like that middle linebacker. Nobody's got tape on him, but he apparently is like a Brian Urlacher. Draft him, put him in the middle of that defense. Last question I wanted to ask you about the first round, because I didn't get to ask you about it. What did you think of the 49er pick to go at McGlinchey? I like McGlinchey. I personally questioned it so high. I didn't think McGlinchey was a top 10
Yeah,
pick.
McGlinchey, I mean, I like him. I do. I think without a doubt he's the number 1 tackle in the draft. I mean, you know my rule.
Miller? You don't like Colton Miller.
Yes, over Colton Miller for sure.
Because Colton Miller was my number 1.
Yeah, you know my rule, though, when it comes to offensive linemen.
Yes.
If they came from Notre Dame, you draft them.
What if they're a guard?
You draft them. It's an offensive lineman.
Okay, I didn't know we were just staying to tackles here.
No. Any offensive lineman, if they're from Notre Dame, you draft them. But, here's the thing with that. I think that, sure, maybe it was a little high, but when it comes down to it, to quote the great movie Draft Day, great.
Did he go to the birthday party?
Did any of his friends or his teammates go to his birthday party? And did he talk about the $20? But the important thing is, it doesn't really matter where you took the guy. If he's good, that's all that matters. And I think that he will be good. Will he be like? Is he going to change the game? Is he going to be a perennial Pro Bowler? Probably not.
Yeah, but he's going to be solid. He's going to protect Jimmy Garoppolo, or
that's
Jimmy,
what matters.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
You got to keep that undefeated record.
Yeah, you do. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below about the quarterbacks. Which ones should start, will start, who's starting day one, week one for their teams out of the quarterbacks. This has also been the longest segment. This is probably going on about 40-some minutes. We were talking quarterbacks. This will be the longest segment
Sam Bradford for a long time.
The podcast. I want to thank you guys for sticking through, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on iTunes, whether you're on podcast services around the world. Housekeeping here at the end. If you like what we're doing, want to join a podcast, be on a podcast, get a Patreon exclusive podcast, go check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. You can go ahead and get our MVP t-shirt. That store link is down below in the description. MVP, mostvaluablepodcast.com. I keep wanting to say MVP.com, and that's not it.
Yep.
Mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's where you can get MVP each and every day. And last but not least, if you are on Apple Podcasts, you are on iTunes, go give the Onside Kick a 5-star rating. Want to thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Want to thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.